kill. So this video is going to be a little bit different than videos I normally make, and I wanted to just kind of go off on a tangent about Arma Reforger, and just go into a little detail about a concept I've been thinking of. It's the concept of a forever game. Now, I looked it up and that apparently already is a term, but I kind of wanted to put my own spin on it because it popped into my head before I had ever really looked it up or looked at any commentary from any other gamer. And I feel like Arma Reforger fits that term very well for me. And I just want to explain why. What I noticed when I first bought the game was that it was not what I expected. You know, the physics, the game itself, the way it looked, everything felt different compared to the games that were released at the time. And I think that's because the game itself is built off of a completely separate engine. With this game, when I first started playing it, it felt different. I think because of the Infusion engine. I think because the engine itself was written from the ground up specifically for this game. It just didn't feel like anything else I'd played. The way the game handles on a controller, the way it handles on a keyboard, the way the driving feels, the way the flying feels. You know, it's not hyper-focused on super responsive controls, which is nice because it gives the characters and the vehicles and the helicopters a lot more weight to them. When I first started playing it, we were essentially just messing around and playing the game in an unorthodox way. We were playing it as a PvE game as opposed to a PvP game. So we were playing just for fun. We were playing against the AI. Never really did the player versus player servers, never joined public servers. We just had so much fun. It was just so much fun. You would die and you wouldn't know where you were shot from. You would get blown up. All you would hear is the rocket sound right before it impacted and the screen would go black, which I thought you honestly don't have any idea what happened until you get back to that location and maybe do like a little bit of investigation. And playing against the AI, at least initially, was brutal. Once they saw you, they knew exactly where you were going and what you were doing. As time went on, the game got more and more grounded and realistic in the sense that it wasn't so difficult that it was overbearing. And also, obviously, people had the ability to mod this game, so I think the reason I have so many hours in this game is because I can honestly go into the editor and change or tweak almost anything inside the game. If there's something you don't like, you can adjust it. And if there's something you think would be cool, in most cases, someone else had thought that too, and maybe they were a little bit more tech savvy and they already made a mod for it that you could just download pretty easily. Most games now, you can't mod anything. You can't tweak anything, you can't mess around with the engine, you can't add content that would create longevity in the long run for those games. As I tried to mess around with the game more and dipped my toe into playing PvP games, online games with just random people, it was kind of cool because for the most part, most of the players were very down to earth, willing to help you. You know, if you ask them just general questions, if they knew the answer, they'd try their best to explain it. Which in most video games, everything is happening so fast that you just kind of have to hit the ground running and start shooting at anything that moves. And it gets boring. You know, that hyper sped up gameplay where it's just you're adding numbers to a board, it's just boring to me. It's super boring. Being able to just pick a specific game and know that you can do so much inside of the game. I think because I could take this game and I could say, all right, tonight I want to go to Mogadishu, I want to pretend to be in Black Hawk Down and create a server for my friends to jump in and, you know, have some fun with. That aspect of this game, being called a platform, being deemed a sandbox, is what is going to give it the ability to become a forever game. And I see that now. Looking back and seeing the community, how they've responded to Arma 3 and how everyone still plays that game, this engine and this game as a stepping stone between Arma 3 and Arma 4, it definitely shows the capability for Arma 4 to be another forever game as well. I didn't think a $30 game, obviously the price has changed, so sorry for maybe being elitist in this thing, but I didn't think a $30 game would be something that I would almost sink 3,000 hours into. Now granted, because I'm filming a lot of my silly videos and creating machinima inside of the game, that kind of pads out the overall playtime, because I'll just have it running in the background while I'm editing something or I'm shooting something, but the game is literally just sitting at a scene that I'm trying to film over and over again. So maybe I have, like, if we're being more conservative, maybe I have 2,000 hours instead of almost 3,000 hours. We'll just be hyper conservative in this sense, because I'm pretty sure it's 2,500 at this point. No other game in my entire library has more than maybe like 700 hours, and at that point usually it's like, all right, I know the engine, I know the feel of the game, I know the repetition, I know the mechanics of the game. And when you get to that point with any game, that's when you stop playing it, because it's predictable. It's fun to maybe teach someone else how to play it, but it's not really fun for you to play it and unwind. But I think the wild card in this scenario is modding. Being able to build the game or adjust the game to your liking is very important. You know, if I couldn't make the game easier for my friends to hop into, just for example, doing something silly like adding infinite sprint, or, yeah, I know I'm going to get so much flack for that, or, you know, ignoring the weight distribution for all the gear that you're carrying. Now, again, we're playing in PvE against the AI, so it's like 4 people versus like 100 enemies at any given time. So you kind of need to have 2 or 3 guns and 600 pounds of ammo. So, sue me. But yeah, having that ability to mod anything, to change anything, to make it more approachable initially, and then, you know, having that be a stepping stone for someone to jump into a public game if they wanted to, it's just nice. It's nice to have that option to adjust something and be very granular. So yeah, a forever game. That's the term that's been popping up in my head. And I think about it very often when I'm playing with just like my dad or my brother. We almost treat the game as if we were playing on the couch together. And I kind of miss that aspect of gaming. To still have a game that gives you almost 1,000 hours of fun out of a $40 purchase, it seems kind of like a good deal. You know, spend $30 on a fast food meal and I'm still hungry because it's just grease and seed oils at this point. It's not even meat. It's probably some fucking lab-grown shit that Bill Gates jerked off into. Like, it's very rare that you find a product that lasts that many hours and still makes you want to come back to it. Not in like an addictive sense. It's almost like an empowering sense. It's like this game taught me how to mod. This game taught me how to look into the engine and kind of do a little bit of investigation into the way C#, the coding language, is written, and a little bit of scripting, a little bit of graphic design and modeling creation, and then it motivated me to check out Blender and 3D modeling in general and how that approach is done. I'm grateful that Bohemia Interactive have created this game, and I think it was smart for them to do this with the openness and expectation of community input so that they could gauge what needs to be fixed or added or adjusted. And they were pretty forthcoming with the fact that this game is like a test bed and that it's unfinished and that the engine is being built side by side with it. I'm remembering growing up that game magazines would have actual demo discs for things, and I kind of feel like early access is essentially that same vein of creativity. It's like you get to step into a section of the creative process and see how things are going. And the fact that now you get to actually have a conversation with the developers, you're changing the course of the game overall. All in all, I really am happy that they chose this type of release. One of the games that I would equate this to that maybe not everyone played growing up was a game called Delta Force. And I remember Delta Force being one of those games where it was like the first one that I think, between that and Command & Conquer Red Alert, that was like one of the 2 games that I kind of convinced my dad to play with me growing up. And it was like, I think this is maybe going to be an aside, but men don't really talk to each other in normal ways. It's like, hey, do you want to go see that action movie? It's like, sure. And then you go see it and you basically sit in silence and you experience something at the same time. It's like, that's kind of the relationship I have with like my dad and my brothers. It's like, we're not going to sit there and talk about our day and do small talk. It's like, let's go blow some shit up and laugh. Like, that's, you know, that's kind of how it just works. So I mean, this game is like perfect for that. But I think I convinced him to play Delta Force with me, which at the time, like using a mouse and keyboard to aim, and you know, it's kind of tedious. So I'm really grateful that he gave it time and actually would play with me, or at least humor me and try it out. But I think to this day, he still plays Command & Conquer when he just wants to unwind, or he might, you know, we don't play Delta Force anymore, but this game reminds me a lot of Delta Force. You know, you have the long-range combat, you have the sniper scope, you have the difficult enemies that would hit you one time out of nowhere, and in that game you would see a tracer that was like a fake blue line or a red line, and then you die. The environments were huge. I think they were essentially infinite. Obviously it was completely barren. If you go beyond the mission area, the game now looks like very pixelated and garbled, but the gameplay loop was fun, and the fact that you could tie a bunch of computers together on a network and play it with other people was not something that was as easy to come by. It was another game that was really designed for player versus player scenarios, but we played it as if we were playing against the AI and as if we were playing as a team. And I just wanted to say that that's something I'm really grateful for, because yeah, we don't have those day-to-day conversations where we go in depth and discuss every thought that comes to our head, but having something act as a stand-in or a go-between that allows us to still have those conversations is really beneficial. Having something act as almost like a communication mechanism or a facilitator for communication and experiences is something that people should really appreciate. So ultimately, bought a game on a whim. Turned out to be hyper in-depth with all the things that you could adjust and tweak in it. You could play it completely different from how it's marketed, and it's still tremendously fun, and you get to share that experience with friends and family. So I kind of see myself playing this game even when Arma 4 gets released. So I'll just wrap it up here. Yeah, I don't know how to end this video, so I'm just gonna stop talking now. Right about now.